The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss, and Aaron stepped into the alien city for the first time. The air was cool, carrying a faint scent of flowers he had never smelled before. High above, tall crystal towers shimmered in soft colors that changed like the glow of fireflies. Every street was decorated with silk banners, and lanterns floated on invisible currents, moving gracefully through the night. Aaron had been invited to a grand celebration called the Venetian Mask Hall. The invitation itself had surprised him. He was not a famous person, nor a leader of his people. He was only a traveler, curious about other worlds. And yet, a messenger had arrived on his small ship, offering him a silver card with flowing alien letters. The card had only one instruction: come to the hall, and wear a mask. As he walked through the streets, he noticed how different everything felt compared to Earth. The aliens, tall and graceful, wore long robes that shimmered under the lantern light. Every one of them had a mask covering their face, some simple and plain, others decorated with gems and feathers. Their voices mixed with the sound of distant music, soft notes played on instruments Aaron could not name. When he reached the entrance of the hall, he stopped for a moment to look at it. The building was unlike anything he had seen before. The walls were curved like waves frozen in stone, and 1,000 glowing lanterns hung above the doors. Music flowed from inside, mixed with gentle laughter. It felt alive, as if the building itself was waiting for him. A tall figure greeted him at the entrance. The alien wore a golden mask and a robe that seemed to ripple like water. The figure bowed slightly and gestured for Aaron to enter. Before stepping inside, Aaron took out the mask that had been given to him earlier. It was simple silver in color, smooth, with only 2 eye holes. He placed it over his face, feeling a strange weight settle on his chest. Inside, the hall was breathtaking. The ceiling stretched so high it seemed endless, painted with shifting stars that moved like a real sky. The floor was polished glass, reflecting the lights of hundreds of lanterns. Dozens of masked dancers twirled gracefully, their robes flowing like rivers of color. Music rose and fell, carrying with it a rhythm that made his heart beat faster. Aaron stood quietly at the edge of the hall, trying to take it all in. He had attended many events on Earth, but nothing like this. Here, no one revealed their true face. Everyone hid behind masks, and yet their movements, their voices, and their laughter carried so much emotion. A group of aliens passed by, whispering as they looked at him. Though he could not understand every word, he knew what they were saying. He was the only human in the room, the outsider. For a moment, he felt small and out of place. But instead of leaving, he reminded himself why he had come. Curiosity had always guided him, and tonight, it would guide him again. He walked slowly along the side of the hall, watching the dancers. Some moved in pairs, gliding as if their feet never touched the ground. Others moved in circles, their steps so precise that it looked like a single body with many arms. The music wrapped around him, soft and powerful at the same time. Aaron's eyes wandered to the corners of the hall, where guests who did not dance gathered to talk. He noticed the way they leaned close, the way their voices lowered when they saw him. But then, something else caught his attention. Across the hall, near a row of silver pillars, stood a figure who was not speaking to anyone. She wore a mask like the others, white with golden lines painted across it, but there was something different about her. While the rest of the hall moved in joy, she stood quietly, her head tilted slightly as if lost in thought. Their eyes met. Even through the mask, Aaron felt the weight of her gaze. It was not cold, nor unkind, but curious, like she was studying him just as he studied her. For a moment, the noise of the hall seemed to fade, leaving only that silent connection. Aaron looked away, pretending to focus on the lanterns, but the feeling stayed with him. He knew the celebration had only just begun, but something told him that his night at the Venetian Mask Hall would not be ordinary. He was not here only as a visitor. He was here for a reason he did not yet understand. And somewhere across the hall, behind her mask, the alien girl seemed to feel the same. The music in the Venetian Mask Hall changed. Soft drums joined the melody, filling the air with a gentle rhythm that made the lanterns above flicker as if dancing along. Guests moved with renewed energy, spinning and swaying across the polished glass floor. Laughter echoed from every corner, yet Aaron's attention was still drawn to the quiet figure standing near the silver pillars. He hesitated for a while, unsure if he should approach her. Every other guest seemed confident, their movements graceful, their words flowing like poetry. He, on the other hand, felt clumsy in this place of elegance. Still, the curious way she had looked at him stayed in his mind. It was not the look of someone judging him, but of someone trying to understand him. That gave him courage. Slowly, he walked toward her. His steps echoed lightly on the glass floor, but with so many guests around, no one noticed him except her. When he reached a respectful distance, he bowed slightly, remembering the way others had greeted each other earlier. "Good evening," Aaron said softly, his voice almost blending with the music. The masked girl tilted her head, studying him for a moment before replying. "You are the human," she said. Her voice was gentle, carrying a calm rhythm. "Yes," Aaron answered with a small smile, adjusting his simple silver mask. "I suppose I am easy to notice here." The girl's golden-lined mask caught the light, making her eyes shine brighter behind it. "You do not hide it? Others would." Aaron chuckled lightly. "On Earth, I never needed a mask. People see your face, and they know your mood. Here, it feels different." He glanced around the hall, watching the elegant masks that hid every expression. "I cannot tell if anyone is happy, or sad, or angry." The girl lowered her head slightly, as if amused. "That is the purpose. Masks keep feelings private. It is safer that way." Aaron thought about it for a moment, then said, "But sometimes, feelings are meant to be shared. Otherwise, no one really knows who you are." There was silence between them. The girl did not answer immediately. Instead, she looked at the dancers, her posture still but her eyes thoughtful. After a long pause, she asked, "And on Earth, do you always share your feelings?" Aaron shook his head gently. "Not always. People hide too, even without masks. But when they show what they really feel, it makes life brighter. A smile, for example. It can change everything." The girl tilted her head again, as though testing his words. Then, to his surprise, a soft sound escaped her lips. It was not a laugh, not exactly, but something close. A sound of warmth. Aaron realized she might not laugh often, and the thought made him smile. "What is your name?" he asked politely. There was another pause before she answered. "Lyra." Aaron repeated the name softly, as if to remember it. "It is beautiful." She did not reply to the compliment, but her eyes flickered, as if she was unsure how to respond. Around them, more guests gathered in groups, talking and sharing drinks that shimmered like liquid light. Yet the two of them stayed near the pillars, creating their own quiet space. Aaron, curious, asked, "Why do your people hold this celebration?" Lyra looked up at the shifting stars painted across the ceiling. The hall is a place where no face is greater than another. Nobles, workers, scholars all wear masks. It is the only time when rank does not matter. Anyone may speak with anyone. Aaron nodded slowly. Then it is a chance to be free. Her gaze turned back to him. You understand? For the first time, Aaron felt that he truly belonged in this place. She had spoken only a few words, but they carried meaning. He could sense that beneath her calm mask was a girl who longed for freedom too. The music softened again, and a gentle silence filled the hall for a moment. Aaron looked at her and said carefully, "Would you like to walk with me? Just to see the hall together." Lyra hesitated. She glanced around, as if worried about being seen, but finally nodded. Yes. They moved side by side along the edges of the hall, their steps unhurried. Aaron pointed at the floating lanterns above, telling her how on Earth people lit small fires inside paper lamps and released them into the sky. He described how children would chase them, laughing, trying to catch them before they floated too high. Lyra listened quietly, her eyes fixed on him. Your world sounds gentle. It has its troubles, Aaron admitted, but moments like those remind us of what matters. As they continued walking, Lyra began to share small pieces of her own world. She told him about the rivers that glowed in the dark, about birds with wings like glass, and about her people's tradition of never showing their true faces in public until a moment of deep trust. Aaron listened carefully, storing every word. The more she spoke, the more he realized how rare this conversation must be for her. And the more he wanted it to continue. When the music rose again, Lyra stopped walking. Others are watching, she whispered softly. They will wonder why I stay with you. Aaron met her gaze through the mask. Let them wonder. For a moment, silence stretched between them, but neither turned away. And in that quiet, something unspoken began to grow. The hall continued to shimmer with light and music, but for Aaron and Lyra, the world felt quieter as they stood together at the edge of the celebration. The dancers moved like flowing rivers, masks glittering under the lanterns, yet Aaron's attention was fixed only on the girl beside him. Behind her golden-lined mask, he sensed a mind full of questions and a heart carefully guarded. They found a quieter corner, near a fountain carved from pale stone. The water inside glowed faintly, as if it held starlight. Aaron leaned against the cool edge and spoke first. Do you always come to these halls? He asked. Lyra shook her head gently. Not often. It is a tradition for my people, but I find it tiring. Too many voices. Too many masks. Her voice softened. And you? Do humans celebrate like this? Aaron smiled, remembering. Not like this. On Earth, we have festivals, yes, but people show their faces. Some wear costumes, some paint colors on their skin, but faces are always free. There is something beautiful in seeing a friend's smile. Lyra tilted her head, thoughtful. A smile. I have read about it in your language studies. It is when your mouth curves upward, yes. It shows happiness. Aaron chuckled softly. Yes, that's right. But it is more than just happiness. A smile can mean kindness, comfort, or even hope. Her eyes glimmered behind the mask, as if she was trying to imagine it. For a moment, she fell silent, watching the water ripple. Aaron realized she might not smile often, not even when no one was watching. That thought made him curious about the weight she carried behind her mask. Wanting to keep the moment gentle, Aaron told her about small joys on earth. He spoke of children chasing kites in wide fields, of families gathering around simple meals, of the sound of rain tapping against windows. His words were plain, yet filled with warmth. Lyra listened closely, her body leaning slightly toward him. Your world sounds different. Here, everything is built to look perfect. Even the lanterns above us are guided by hidden machines so they never fall out of place. But in your world, things are free. The rain does not ask where to fall. Aaron nodded. That's the beauty of it. Life is not always perfect, but it is real. Maybe that's why it feels special. A soft silence followed. The music from the hall drifted in the background, but neither of them hurried to leave their corner. It was as if the fountain's glow had formed a small world just for them. Finally, Lyra spoke again, her voice quieter now. I have always wondered what it would be like, to speak with someone without fear of rank or duty. At this hall, masks are supposed to make us equal, but in truth, everyone still remembers who stands above and who stands below. She lowered her head slightly. With you, it feels different. You do not see me as rank. You do not even know my place among my people. Aaron looked at her, his voice steady. I do not need to know. I only see someone who wants to be heard. Her breath caught softly, and though the mask still covered her, he could sense a change. She had spent her life behind walls, yet here she found herself opening a door. To ease her thoughts, Aaron shared a story from his childhood. He told her how he once tried to build a lantern from paper and wood, but it had burned too quickly, rising only a little before falling apart. Instead of being sad, he and his friends had laughed, chasing the sparks as they scattered. Lyra's voice carried a faint warmth when she said, "That is a story of failure, yet you treasure it." "Yes," Aaron replied. "Because sometimes even failure gives us a memory worth keeping." For the first time, he heard it again, that soft, almost hidden sound of her laugh. It was gentle, as if she was not used to letting it escape, but it lit the air more brightly than the lanterns above. Their bond grew in that moment, not through grand gestures, but through simple honesty. Aaron realized he wanted to know more about her, about the world behind her mask. And Lyra, though she said little, found comfort in his presence. His words were not polished like those of her people, but they were real, and that made them precious. When the music in the hall swelled again, announcing the next dance, Lyra turned her head toward the sound. "They will expect me to join soon," she whispered. Aaron asked softly, "Do you want to?" Her pause was long, but her answer was clear. "Not tonight." She stayed beside him, near the fountain, as the dancers filled the hall with color and motion. The world continued to celebrate, but for Aaron and Lyra, the true celebration was the quiet bond forming between them, an unspoken promise that something rare was beginning. The celebration inside the Venetian mask hall grew louder as the night deepened. Music rose and fell like waves, dancers spun faster, and laughter echoed through the glowing chamber. Yet not everyone was celebrating. Some guests had begun to notice the quiet human standing with the alien girl near the glowing fountain. Their masked faces turned, their whispers soft but sharp, carrying suspicion. Aaron did not hear all of the words, but he could feel their weight. The way groups turned to look at him, the way conversations paused when he and Lyra walked past, every gesture made him realize that his presence was not welcomed by everyone. Lyra noticed too. Her posture grew tense, her hands tightening around the edges of her robe. Behind the golden-lined mask, her eyes shifted nervously. She leaned closer to Aaron and whispered, "They do not like this." They do not like that I stay beside you. Aaron gave her a small, reassuring smile. I expected whispers. I am a stranger here. She shook her head gently. It is more than that. My place among them, it carries rules. And those rules do not allow me to stand so long with you. Her words made Aaron curious, but he did not press her. He only said, if my presence causes you trouble, I will step away. I do not want to bring you pain. Lyra looked at him for a long moment, silent. Then she shook her head. No. You speak to me as if I am not hidden behind this mask. That is rare. Her voice grew softer. I do not want to lose it so soon. Their quiet exchange did not go unnoticed. A group of tall figures wearing crimson masks approached. Their robes shimmered like fire, and their movements carried authority. The leader of the group stopped before Lyra, bowing slightly but firmly. You honor the hall with your presence, the masked figure said. His tone was polite, yet heavy with meaning. But many are asking questions. Why do you stand apart from your own people? Why do you choose to linger with the outsider? The music around them softened, as though the hall itself listened. Aaron stood quietly, keeping his voice calm. He did not wish to create conflict. Lyra answered carefully, the hall is for all voices. He is a guest. I only speak with him. The figure's head tilted. A guest, yes. But one who does not know our ways. One who cannot understand our dances, our words, our masks. Should we not spend this night among our own? Aaron felt the sting of the words, but he remained steady. He stepped forward slightly and said, I may not know your ways, but I am willing to learn. I may not dance like you, but I can still honor the music. If the hall is truly for all voices, then perhaps mine may also be heard. The crimson masked figure paused. His silence was sharp, like a blade that did not strike but still cut. Finally, he turned back to Lyra. Be careful. The eyes of the hall are on you. With that, the group left, their robes sweeping behind them. Lyra exhaled slowly, as though she had been holding her breath. Aaron looked at her and asked gently, Are you all right? She nodded, though her voice carried unease. You see now. It is not simple for me to stand with you. Aaron spoke softly but firmly. If it is too dangerous, tell me, and I will leave. Her eyes met his, steady and searching. No, I am tired of fear. Tonight, I choose my own path. The music swelled again, a new rhythm filling the hall. Guests began pairing off, stepping into a slow, graceful dance that spread across the shining floor. All around them, masks turned to one another, hands reached out, and bodies moved in perfect harmony. Aaron looked at the dancers, then back at Lyra. He felt his heart quicken, but he did not hesitate. He extended his hand toward her. I do not know the steps, he admitted with a smile. But will you dance with me? Lyra stared at his hand. For a moment, doubt flickered in her eyes. But then, slowly, she placed her hand in his. They moved onto the floor. At first, their steps were awkward. Aaron misjudged the rhythm, stepping too quickly, then too slowly. He nearly stumbled once, but caught himself with a laugh. Lyra's posture softened as she watched him, her own steps adjusting to match his. Soon, their movements found a rhythm not perfect, but full of life. Where the other dancers glided with flawless grace, Aaron and Lyra laughed softly at their mistakes, learning from one another with every step. It was not polished, but it was real. The hall grew quiet. One by one, the dancers slowed, turning their masked faces toward the unlikely pair in the center. Whispers spread, not of judgment this time, but of wonder. For in a place where masks hid feelings, here were two figures moving with honesty. Lyra's hand tightened slightly in Aaron's. Her eyes, bright behind the mask, never left his. For the first time in her life, she felt free beneath the lantern light. And though the challenge was far from over, both of them knew they had taken the first brave step together. The dance floor glimmered under the floating lanterns, every step of the dancers reflecting on the polished glass. Yet all eyes were fixed on the unlikely pair in the center: Aaron, the human with uncertain steps, and Lyra, the alien girl who moved with careful grace. Their dance was not perfect. Aaron sometimes stepped too quickly, sometimes too slow. His movements lacked the flawless elegance of the others. But there was something different in the way he moved, something honest. Each mistake made him laugh softly, and each laugh made Lyra's posture relax. Slowly, her careful steps grew lighter, more playful, as if she was letting go of the weight she always carried. The music slowed, giving space for small pauses between movements. Aaron leaned closer, whispering so only she could hear. "You see? I told you I do not know the steps. But with you, I don't mind learning." Lyra tilted her head, her golden-lined mask glimmering in the lantern light. "And I do not mind teaching," she replied gently. The hall around them grew strangely quiet. Conversations faded, and even the dancers near them slowed, watching the human who dared to dance without fear of being imperfect. Some eyes were sharp with disapproval, but many others softened, curious. It had been a long time since anyone had seen such unpolished joy in this hall of masks. When the music ended, the silence lingered. Then, softly, scattered claps began, rising into polite applause. It was not the usual applause for perfect dancing, it was for something rare. Aaron bowed lightly, smiling, though his heart was still racing. Lyra lowered her head in a graceful gesture, but her hands trembled faintly. The applause was not only for their dance, it was also a question, a challenge to tradition. They stepped away from the floor, returning to the quiet corner near the glowing fountain. Lyra's voice was low but steady. "Do you realize what you have done?" Aaron looked at her calmly. "I only danced." Her eyes glimmered with both worry and wonder. "You danced without shame. Even when you made mistakes, you laughed. You did not hide. My people, they fear imperfection. That is why we wear masks, why every movement must be flawless. But you showed them something else." Aaron sat at the fountain's edge, his reflection rippling in the glowing water. "Maybe that's what humanity is. We are not perfect, but we try. Sometimes we fall, but we stand again. And sometimes, the mistakes make life more beautiful." Lyra watched him closely, her hands tightening against her robe. "You speak with courage, Aaron. But courage is dangerous here." He met her gaze steadily. "Then let it be dangerous. If all we do is hide, we will never truly live." For a long moment, silence hung between them. Then, softly, Lyra said, "You remind me of the rivers of my home. They do not flow in straight lines. They bend, they twist, they overflow. And yet they bring life wherever they pass." Aaron smiled warmly. "That may be the kindest thing anyone has ever said to me." Her voice grew even softer. "It is not kindness. It is truth." As they spoke, another figure approached, a woman in a tall silver mask, her robe flowing like liquid moonlight. She was older, her movements calm and commanding. The guests parted to let her through, bowing slightly as she passed. She stopped before Lyra and Aaron, her voice cool but not unkind. "You bring much attention tonight," she said, her gaze steady on Lyra. "The hall has not seen such a scene in many seasons. Some are unsettled. Some are inspired." Lyra bowed her head respectfully. "Forgive me if I have broken custom." The silver-masked woman's eyes shifted briefly toward Aaron, then back to Lyra. "Perhaps custom needs to be reminded of why this hall was built. To let voices meet without fear." Her words carried no anger, only reflection. Then, with a soft nod, she turned and walked away, her presence leaving a ripple of whispers behind. Aaron exhaled quietly, relief in his chest. She did not seem angry. Lyra's eyes followed the silver figure. No. She saw something. Perhaps even she cannot deny it. They sat quietly, the music continuing in the distance, but their corner felt like another world. Aaron dipped his fingers into the glowing fountain, the ripples spreading light across his hand. "Do you see this?" he said softly. "Even the smallest touch changes the water. Maybe tonight, our steps have done the same to this hall." Lyra looked at him, her heart caught between fear and hope. The human had shown her something she had never seen before: freedom in imperfection, beauty in honesty. And though the night was not yet over, she knew something inside her had already changed. For the first time in her life, behind her golden-lined mask, she allowed herself to smile. The hall was glowing with soft lantern light, and the music slowed into a gentle melody. The dancers swayed across the marble floor with practiced elegance, their masks shining under the golden glow. But for Aaron and Lyra, the world had become very small. It was only the two of them, standing close, their hearts speaking louder than the whispers of the crowd. Aaron held her hand a little tighter, sensing her hesitation. Lyra's eyes, visible through the delicate carvings of her mask, flickered with emotion. She had grown up in a culture where showing one's face was considered sacred, almost forbidden in public gatherings. Masks protected pride, controlled emotions, and created distance between hearts. Removing one in a crowded hall was a choice few ever made. Yet Aaron's courage during their imperfect dance had stirred something inside her. He had not cared about how others laughed or judged. He had simply enjoyed the moment with her. His laughter, his honesty, and the warmth in his clumsy steps made her realize that he was not afraid to be seen for who he truly was. And that thought made her heart restless. The music faded for a brief pause, and silence filled the hall. Everyone waited for the next song, but in that quiet moment, Lyra made her decision. Slowly, with trembling fingers, she reached up to the sides of her mask. Aaron's eyes widened, but he didn't speak. He understood that this was not a small act. It was something deeper, something that carried the weight of tradition and trust. He remained still, his heart beating faster, watching her courage unfold. The mask slipped away from her face, revealing the gentle curves of her features. Her eyes, no longer hidden, shone with a soft glow unique to her kind. There was vulnerability in the way she lowered the mask, as if waiting for him to react, waiting to see if he would turn away, like so many others might have. But Aaron did not turn away. He smiled. It was not a smile of surprise or pity, it was warm, steady, and full of admiration. "You're beautiful," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper, yet strong enough for her to hear. Lyra felt her heart tremble. She had heard those words before from others in her world, but they always felt empty, tied only to appearances or duty. This time, it felt different. Aaron was not praising her for her looks, she could feel it in the way he gazed at her. He was admiring her courage, the courage to step beyond masks and show her true self. For the first time, she felt truly seen. Around them, whispers spread quickly. Guests gasped, exchanging glances behind their masks. An unmasking in public was rare, shocking even. Some looked on with disapproval, others with curiosity. But Lyra no longer cared about their eyes. For once, she cared only about her own heart and the man standing in front of her. The music began again, slower and softer this time, as if the hall itself was holding its breath. Aaron gently reached for her hand again, and Lyra, with her face uncovered, accepted without hesitation. They moved together once more, but this time the dance felt lighter, freer. Every step seemed to break down a wall between them. Aaron, though unskilled in their graceful patterns, followed his own rhythm. His movements were not perfect, but they were filled with sincerity. Lyra laughed softly as he missed a step, but instead of feeling embarrassed, she felt joy. She realized that imperfection was not weakness, it was simply human. And it made the moment real. As they moved across the marble floor, the light from the lanterns reflected on her uncovered face, and for the first time, she was not afraid. She felt stronger than she ever had, because she was no longer hiding. Aaron leaned closer and whispered, "Thank you for trusting me." His voice was gentle, but the words carried a weight that touched her deeply. Lyra nodded, her voice trembling yet firm. "You gave me the courage." The hall continued to watch in silence, but the two of them barely noticed any more. Their connection was no longer bound by masks, traditions, or expectations. It was something purer, born from honesty and trust. By the time the music ended, they were still standing close, gazing into each other's eyes. The whispers in the hall no longer mattered. In that moment, it was clear to both of them something new had begun, something that could not be hidden again behind masks. The Venetian mask hall had always been a place of secrecy, but on that night, it became the place where a truth was revealed, a truth that no mask could ever hide again. The night air outside the Venetian mask hall was cool and gentle. Lanterns floated above the streets, drifting like stars captured for a single moment, their glow reflecting in the glass towers around the city. Aaron and Lyra walked slowly through the quiet streets, side by side, their hands still intertwined. For the first time, Lyra had no mask hiding her face, and Aaron had no hesitation in simply being himself. The hall behind them had returned to its usual rhythm. Music, laughter, and whispers continued inside, but now it felt distant, like another world. Tonight, the celebration had given way to something far more meaningful, a connection that neither tradition nor expectation could break. Lyra stopped near a small bridge that arched over a gentle river flowing with glowing water. The current shimmered softly, mirroring the lanterns above. She turned to Aaron, her eyes reflecting both light and emotion. "I never imagined I could feel this, free," she said softly. Aaron smiled, brushing a loose strand of hair behind his ear. "Freedom can be simple sometimes. All it takes is courage to step forward and trust someone." Her lips curved into a small, genuine smile. "I trusted you. And I have never done that before, not in public, not with anyone. You made it easy to believe it was safe." He squeezed her hand gently. "You made it easy to believe in me too." For a few moments, they stood in silence, listening to the soft ripple of the river. The world around them seemed vast yet intimate, as if the city itself had paused to watch this quiet exchange. Aaron looked up at the floating lanterns. On Earth, people release lanterns into the sky. Each one carries a wish. They float higher and higher, and sometimes, even a small light can reach far beyond what we expect. Lyra tilted her head, curious. And what would you wish for? He thought for a moment, then said honestly, I would wish that nights like this could happen more often. That honesty, courage, and trust could travel freely between worlds. And, that we could meet again. Lyra's eyes softened, and she brushed her thumb lightly over his hand. Then your wish may already be coming true. Because I feel that too. They walked together across the bridge, letting their steps match the gentle rhythm of the river below. The city lights sparkled around them, but their focus remained solely on one another. For the first time, Lyra realized that the rules and traditions she had lived by were not all that defined her world. There was room for choice, for trust, and for the simple joy of connecting with another heart. Aaron glanced at her, a question in his eyes. Would you like to meet again? Outside the hall, outside the masks. Her smile was quiet but firm. Yes. I want to see you, Aaron. Not as a visitor in our hall, but as someone who chooses to be with me. The words hung in the air like music, soft yet full of promise. Aaron felt his heart lift. He had not expected so much in a single night, yet here they were, two beings from completely different worlds, standing together, unafraid, and willing to trust. A gentle breeze swept across the bridge, carrying the faint scent of flowers from the city gardens. Aaron laughed lightly, feeling the tension of the evening melt away. Then it is a promise, he said, his voice steady. No masks, no hesitation. We will meet again. Lyra nodded, her eyes shining with warmth. A promise, she repeated. They stood together for a few more moments, gazing at the floating lanterns that drifted lazily above the river. Each lantern seemed to glow with its own story, each one carrying hope and light into the night. Aaron thought of the stories he had shared earlier, of rain and laughter, of small joys on earth. And he realized that the joy he felt now was greater than anything he had imagined. Lyra's hand remained in his as they finally turned to walk back through the quiet streets. Every step felt lighter than the last, as if the weight of fear, tradition, and expectation had been lifted. The hall behind them would continue its celebration, but for Aaron and Lyra, the true celebration had already begun, a celebration of trust, courage, and the simple truth that hearts could meet, even across worlds. As they disappeared into the softly lit streets, lanterns floating high above, the promise they had made to each other was clear. No mask could hide their feelings, no rule could keep them apart, and no tradition could diminish what had begun tonight. The Venetian Mask Hall had been a place of secrecy, but now it had become the place where two hearts had found each other. And beyond the masks, beyond the rules, beyond the distant stars, something extraordinary had begun, a connection built on honesty, bravery, and the beauty of humanity. Tonight, both Aaron and Lyra knew the same truth: even in a world of masks, love could shine brighter than any lantern.